just quit. It doesn't matter if they hear. I just say, oh, look, if I go wedding and there's a glass of champagne, is that going to do me any harm? He says, no, enjoy yourself. Have more than one. Good. I said, I'm not ready to be a teetotal yet. He says, oh no, don't do that. He says, might be a bit controversial, but there's some evidence that regular consumption of wine is good. It's good for your heart and your liver.
Remember, we are not a medical program. This is not medical advice.
No, not at all. But I'm just like my granddad, who's a functional alcoholic, and he polishes off a bottle of red wine every day.
Intervention Lizard's on it already. Göbekli Tepe is distraction from the fact that Jerry Nadler shit himself.
Exactly. How they are spending billions with that place just to distract from the fact that they're literally pouring shit.
They
down
invented
there
the whole thing and pretended it was Neolithic just to hide the fact that Nancy Pelosi had to breathe in Jerry Nadler's shit fumes.
He was just doing the careful waddle of, if I articulate my legs too much, the poo's going to start running down my trousers.
Reminds me a bit of that Jethro joke, the one where he's flying where he's up in a plane and the pilot has a heart attack, like a little Cessna type thing. So he's talking to air traffic control. He says, "Oh, I'm in a plane." He said, "I'm in a plane, and the pilot's dead." He said, "How do you know he's dead?" I said, "I pushed him out." And he said, "I'm heading towards Truro." He says, "And I'm upside down." They said, "How do you know you're upside down?" He said, "Because the shit's running out me collar." I do like Jethro. Jethro's a funny guy.
I do too. Yeah, I like him. There was something along the lines of that. Oh, what was it now? Fuck, I can't remember. It's midsummer, and it's the hottest year on record. Yeah. I went out into the garden, and I didn't get heat stroke, unlike say in 2013 when I did. And I remember that summer.
The thing in my van said it was 31 today. Although I don't think it was that hot. I'm not sure. Where are the temperature sensors in a vehicle?
If it's in your van, it'll probably be the right wing mirror, and because that's black plastic, then it's going to be hot. The funny thing is, we're going to get into the very Fortean subject of DPF failures. So there was this Peugeot van, and you kept having these DPF
because they are very mysterious and shit.
Well, this is the weird thing, right? So there was this guy who's like, "Oh, I'm going to have to scrap the van. Everything's gone wrong. I've been to all these specialists, and they can't figure it out. And they've looked at the filter, and they looked at the AdBlue, and everything's working like it ought to, but the computer says no." So the van gets mowed because, of course, that's the thing with these modern diesels is if there's a DPF fault, the computer says no, and you can't turn your car on or van in this case.
The other problem is the fact that unless the computer tells them what the fault is, they buggered. They got no idea.
Well, that was the thing, you see. No one didn't actually say what the fault was, but this guy figured out what it was. He says, your ring mirrors, is that OEM spec or is that like a third party job? He says, "Oh no, I smashed it on the building site. I got a cheap one on eBay." And he says, "Okay." And he looks in it. He says, "Yeah, this hasn't got a temperature sensor in it." He says, "All right." He says, "Well, my dash doesn't have a temperature sensor." He says, "Well, even if your dash doesn't display what the temperature is, you need the one with the temperature sensor, the expensive one from Peugeot, because that thermometer sends information to the ECU, which in turn will then regulate the amount of AdBlue going into your DPF because it needs to know what temperature it is." So they put in a new wing mirror in, and then the car. I keep calling a van a car. His van started. Yeah, So that's a very Fortean
That's
subject.
funny and disgusting at the same time. I'm disgusted by that.
I know. Well, you see, the fact is, what we're doing here is we're covering up from the fact Jerry Nadler shit himself. And it's not so much Fortean, but it is a bit Twilight Zone.
The Land Rover is a very similar vehicle because it's full of that the CAN bus system. I don't know anything. Do you know what it is? The CAN bus system.
Yeah, so CAN bus came about 20 or so years ago, and the idea was, what if we make like a computerized network system inside the car?
Yeah.
And that way we could transfer information. Instead of having massive wiring looms, what you can now have is massive wiring looms which send network packets.
The good point of it, the best part of this is that you could have a problem with your seat; it's not going up and down, and that could send your Land Rover into limp mode.
Yes, because that's a great system to have. You know what I think it might be, and I know they can do wireless CAN bus these days because my mum's door flap has got a wireless sensor in it. Because you need a wireless sensor on your door to say, "Oh, the door's been." Well, I suppose it makes sense.
Ian says he's watching Jackass. Does that mean Dom's round his house?
Yeah, but the thing is, why do you need like a clever wireless sensor which sends like a network packet to say, "Oh, turn the dash lights on, the door's been opened"? There's a much simpler way of doing it that's existed since, like, I want to say the Rover P5 era, but probably since the 1930s, which is called, you've got a mechanical switch in the door hinge, and when you open the door, it makes the switch close, and then the dash lights come on.
Yeah, you're missing the point, Hobbit. With that system, you can make the cars obsolete quicker.
Yeah, but and then when like you got something wrong with your car,
pesky classic cars hanging around, then do you?
Yeah, and then when you got like something go, I almost feel like we should send this episode of Göbekli Tepe to Jeff Buys Cars and just say, look, there's the thing. This CAN bus is brilliant, right? Because instead of doing all that really simple stuff with mechanical switches and wiring looms that people can fix. Oh, that was it. The idea of CAN bus, the way it was sold was like, when instead of all these wiring looms with all these point-to-point sensors, wouldn't it just be a lot simpler if we just had like a network cable and then you could branch off with like an actual network switch?
Yeah.
And I mean, in theory, yeah, if people that are designing cars were sensible, were doing it. But then you get really evil people that are in the cars, the same people that work for HP, it seems, where they go, you've put a third-party ink cartridge in there and your printer's to communicate to the internet. It's the same like, so we just disabled your printer. It's the same like with BMW of, well, you haven't paid the premium subscription this month, so we disabled your heated seat.
Yeah.
Because fuck you, basically. All of this stuff
what
with...
is Nigel Farage going to do about bullshit like this? I bet he's going to do nothing about it, is he?
Well, the fact that all of this stuff with the cars and the Göbekli Tepe and the CAN bus systems and all that, all of it is to distract from the fact that Jerry Nadler shit himself. Imagine if you will.
Or is Jerry Nadler just a part of the whole thing?
Well, that's what I want to say. Imagine, if you will, a world in which you're ruled by people that are fecally incontinent, those that shit themselves.
Well, we don't have to
when they're on stage.
It seems to be getting more and more common in government, doesn't it?
I mean, it's like you don't have to shit yourself to work in politics, but it seems to help.
It seems to get you up there, doesn't it?
I mean, you know that thing, like they're talking about the Great Stink, and that's why they made the London sewage system back in like the Victorian era. Do you think the Great Stink was just like there was a lot of Jerry Nadlers sat in the House of Commons shitting themselves all the time?
Probably.
Oh, well, those seats used to be brown before they came.
So we haven't seen Fraser. Are we going to declare him dead again? Are we going to tell everyone that Fraser's dead again? Are we?
Unfortunately, Fraser died because Jerry Nadler shit himself and he got buried under the tide.
Yeah.
And his body...
Off-Licence got an idea. He said, just imagine if Brutus and Top Cat designed a car
Yeah, but then it'd be like women. No, women can get in it, but as long as it's in the boot.
Yeah.
And Jeff is not going to understand this bit, so
Yeah.
we'll avoid all the struggle snuggle jokes. Just
what else we got? I think we got another one in chat. Imagine if Jerry Nadler shit on Sargon.
Frankly, I wouldn't even imagine that.
I don't think Jerry Nadler wouldn't even shit on Sargon. I don't think
He wouldn't even crop dust him.
he seemed to enjoy doing it to Nancy Pelosi though, didn't he?
Yeah, but if you had to work with that bitch all day,
He gave her a proper lungful, didn't he?
I mean, if I had to put up with her, I'd end up just shitting myself on principle.
Yeah. She who had the Chinese Secret Service car driver, didn't she?
I can neither confirm nor deny. Well, as we all know, the Chinese are just so good at driving. That's why Nancy Pelosi had a Chinese driver.
Well, I mean, if you want to go for the country that has the least car accidents, don't you? Wait, yeah.
Well, I think China's silver can't hold a candle to Thailand's gold, though. Let's face it on that one. I mean, in terms of like total, yeah, probably China has more accidents, but per capita, I think Thailand takes the.
Are they good drivers? Are they good drivers? Are they?
Oh, they're better drivers than Nancy Pelosi. She's on the boss all the time. Especially after the event where Jerry Nadler shit himself live on air in front of her.
Didn't have to remove part of her lung after that.
Well, yeah, but that's only because her liver's got so big. That way she can drink loads of rum.
Well,
she drinks a bottle of rum.
Jerry Nadler's shit probably had a highly detrimental effect on her liver.
I mean, I heard that she gets through like a bottle of milk thistle and rum every day.
Is that just to deal with the smell of Jerry Nadler?
Well, yeah, and the fact that she's a raging alcoholic. But despite that, very good financial sense. I wish I could make stock options as good as Nancy Pelosi. Unfortunately...
It's amazing how these women become excellent financial wizards, don't they? Because AOC, who used to work as a... what's the thing? AOC used to work as a bar woman, now worth about like 300 million or something.
Oh, well, when you work in a bar, you get to hear all the great stock option tips, the stocks. You work in a bar and someone says, you should buy stock X, and we don't give financial advice on the show. Yeah. And then AOC went, I'm going to take at face value. I will purchase stock X.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's another thing. I actually quite a good segue into the subject of the mat, which is Göbekli Tepe and other places what done get fucked over. Yeah. Because I'm very eloquent today, as everyone can notice, and I only have moderate hay fever. The fact is, we joke about it, but really, if you think about it, the people that rule us, the people that have like millions and millions of our taxpayers' money, i.e., theft.
Yeah.
They're a bit corrupt, aren't they?
A lot of it backed up with actual theft of our money.
Yeah. I mean, they're quite corrupt, and you, on the one hand, I'd be like, well, you know, I wouldn't mind the corruption so much if they would be like...
we were all rolling in it as well. If everyone was rolling in it, you don't mind sharing it around. They've done a good job. They deserve a bit of a bonus, but in fact, they're actually just robbing us blind.
Or at least if they'd fill in the fucking potholes, but they don't even do that with it. But no, that's the thing. There's like they won't fill in the potholes, but they will fill in Göbekli Tepe because get this right. What was the official quote again? Now UNESCO are involved in this, but everyone else's favourite organisation, the WEF, which is like the shitter version of WWF, Whatever happened to WCW, by the way? I mean, I liked Adam Bomb. He was a good one, I thought.
I never watched any WCW. I used to watch WWF.
Do you remember The Undertaker and Yokozuna, or was that WCW?
I remember when there was some sort of tag team thing, and it was Hulk Hogan and BA.
That's WWF, yeah.
Mr. T, yeah, I remember that one.
The Undertaker used to have, and I didn't realise, I thought he was just his manager, but it's like, actually, no, he's another wrestler. So the Undertaker has, Paul Bearer, you got it. Yeah, that's, that's all.
Yeah, when British Beefcake had his face smashed into a million pieces. I know it's true because Hulk Hogan told me it was a million pieces.
Yeah, they counted it.
Yeah.
How long would it take you to count to a million? I mean,
it's 3,600 if it's been smashed into a million pieces.
I think you ask the plastic surgeons, the ones that convince women to ghoulify themselves.
Oh yeah,
the ones
that girl from The Boys. She looked fantastic after her plastic surgery, didn't she?
She went to the surgeon and said, "Look, I need to be the one thing that men find irresistible. Can you make me look like Gollum, please?" And the surgeon,
men like Lord of the Rings. Can I look like Gollum, please?
And then the surgeon, who I'm just going to imagine is like Bruce Campbell from Escape from LA, was just like, "Oh, we have such sights to show you." I can't remember what he says in that film, so I'm just going to imagine he's Hellraiser. But yeah, Göbekli Tepe is a interesting site. It's a space, and it's not really called Göbekli Tepe, but the people that live in Asia Minor, that's what it is in their language. It's the place where Noah set down, and it's written. I was actually gonna bring this up. I was gonna look in the Bible. So let me get the Bible.
I thought it was
just go
Mount Ararat, isn't it?
So I'll go.
Is it Mount Ararat?
I don't know. It's Göbekli Tepe. The reason I mentioned this is Noah. If I type in Noah, Genesis 6. Let's have a look at the full chapter. So man began multiplying the earth, daughters, and then Noah did things which God commanded him. Next chapter, 600 years old. Where's the bit when the Lord said, "Go thou into thy house, into the ark, for thee I have seen just before me." Clean beast, and then every beast according to its time. So I'm almost it. God remembered Noah and living creatures and cattle that live in the ark, and brought a wind upon the earth, and the waters were abated.
It's Mount Ararat, which was also in Turkey, is where Noah's Ark landed after the flood.
The founders also of the deep and the floodgates of heaven were shut up, and the rain from heaven was restrained. And the waters returned from off the earth, going and coming, and they began to be abated after 150 days. And the ark rested in the 7th month, and the 7th and 12th day of the 7th and 20th, so the 27th day of the month. I'm not saying 7 and 20th. Let's not be French about this. upon the mountains of Armenia. And the waters were going and decreasing until the 10th month. For in the 10th month, the first day of the month, the tops of the mountains appeared. And after that 40 days have passed, Noah, opening the window of the ark which he had made, sent forth a raven. I thought it was a dove. Which went forth and did not return.
Article, but they keep saying that it's an iconic symbol in Judeo-Christian and Islamic faiths.
Ignore that. That's like... It's like, you had the rainbow flag for the gays.
Yeah.
And then they kept adding bits onto it and then saying, we're gay too, but we're special gays.
Yeah.
And we're better than gays. But that's what the Judeo-Islamic bit of Christianity is. It's like, we're better than Christians, but we're Christians too.
Yeah.
No.
Very confusing considering what it says in Judeo... culture, what happened to Jesus. It's very confusing to be Judeo-Christian because they're not very not very keen on Christ, are they?
They're not too fond of the Christ. No,
Yeah.
they don't like him. They still didn't forget him for that, the money lenders bit. So there we go. So yeah, the raven didn't return, but then he sent a dove, and there we go. But she, not finding where her foot might rest, returned to him in the ark, for the waters were on the whole earth. He put forth his hand and caught her and brought her into the ark. So another 7 days passed, sent the dove out the ark, came to the evening carrying the bough of an olive tree. Well, that's fortunate. I mean, the world's been flooded, but there's an olive tree. And yeah, so like there's an olive tree and there's a bough with green leaves in her mouth. Therefore, Noah understood that the waters were ceased upon the earth. So anyway, 601st year in the first month, 13th month, the waters there. I just think after 40 days, I know what happens to leaves when I leave them in the bucket. It doesn't even take a week for them to start turning brown. God spoke to Noah, says, "Go out of the ark, thou and thy wife, thy sons, thy husband, sons."
Especially seawater. That'd be seawater. So kill it in seconds, wouldn't it?
There's something about the way, but wouldn't there be like massive incrustations of salt upon the salt basins, aren't there? There's something about the way the Old Testament is written where I feel this isn't human speech. This is more like programming. Yeah. Like, there's so many redundant phrases in it, which is just like, why are you writing them? Why you speak? It feels like this is how, like, you talk to a computer. Like, you program it and you have to put the redundant phrases in because
code.
Otherwise it just won't get it.
It's code. All those
words it's a code.
100% deliberate, and it's a code.
Yeah. I mean, here's an example. And all living things and cattle and creeping things that creep upon the earth, according to their kinds, went out of the ark.
Well, like Dangerfield.
Just all living things. The rest is redundant.
Creep upon the earth. So is he talking about like Brutus and Dangerfield as well?
Well, it's implied. I almost feel like this is the term. I mean, it's error correction, right? So what you do, because if you only had like one example of it, then that could be lost to error. So if you have like loads of different ways of saying the same thing, it corrects the errors. So like someone could say,
is that to ensure like knowing that it was like all hand translated back in the day? Could that be to make sure that it was all copied correctly?
But especially with the old text, I have no idea how this worked. But in old text, they like spaces weren't invented, so like all the words are written together with no gaps in between.
Well, otherwise you end up with a version of the Bible that Rimmer's family had, didn't they?
Well, that's it. The literalists.
Faith, hop, and charity.
And most important of these is hop.
Sunday dinners were a nightmare.
The thing is, it's like, here we go. So all of these. So and Noah built an altar unto the Lord, taking of all the cattle and fowls that were clean, offered holocaust upon the altar. Now, holocaust is a Greek word meaning burnt sacrifice. So that's an interest. Yeah, that word has, I think, been co-opted since the 19th century for something else. But, okay, so there's a couple of things. I only mention this because the fact is he built an altar, right? And in Göbekli Tepe, there are pillars featuring a ship amongst the floodwaters landing in the mountain. And I mention all this because of Göbekli Tepe and how it's being covered up, and it's being deliberately covered up. And the quote was from the WEF as well as UNESCO.
Originally, it had been deliberately covered up because it was dug out, wasn't it? Because they found the top and then dug further and further.
That's right. Well, they're up to a certain point, and then when it started like confirming parts of the Bible as true. Now, I am Catholic, and having read that, I just think to myself, there are some problems in this story. I mean, one of them is like, so you've only got like a limited selection of animals. We'll ignore the bits about inbreeding when you've only got like one mating couple. You've just landed, and now you've made a sacrifice of. You just made a sacrifice of all your cattle and fowls. It says, and taking all the cattle and fowls that were clean, offered holocaust upon the altar. Now, if you want to be a lawyer about it, you could be like, well, after the 40 days in the ark, none of them were clean. So, but then the next bit says, and then the Lord smelled a sweet savour and said, I will no more curse the earth for the sake of man. For the imagination and thought of a man's heart are prone to evil from his youth.
Well, if you want to go for the... Because I sometimes think about the God is an astronaut theory, like the seed planet theory. What if Noah had done the terraforming and his ship wasn't a ship as we know it, it was actually a spaceship. And when they say they've got two of everything, they were DNA samples of male and females that he then created.
I always feel like it's except for livestock, and then you got to have 7 of it. I feel that it's got to be an allegory, because the fact is, I think even then they'd have known that inbreeding's not a good idea and doesn't work.
Yeah.
All you have to do is just observe. So.
I mean, I do sometimes wonder, like, if you go by, like, the Chinese whisper theory, like, the ship becomes a spaceship, to, like, DNA stocks become 2 of each animal, that kind of thing.
I mean, you have to explain it in a way that...
The Great Flood is terraforming. I just think about it sometimes.
Well, yeah, but the Great Flood also happened. I mean, why else would you have fossils, the mountain range? Like fossils of Nautilus and other sea creatures on all the mountain range, including Mount Everest. And it's like, oh, that's strange. How could the fossils of sea creatures be up here on this mountain, the highest point on Earth?
The fossil at Rutland. The fossil at Rutland was pretty high up as well, wasn't it?
Oh, all these fossils, they exist. They all come from the sea, and the geologists have found that locked away in. I forget the mineral name for it, but you can basically.
Ian Fortean says he knew a guy from Quimbran who shagged his sister, so it is possible.
So
what is wrong with Craig Wilson? He said Pelosi's still got great tits.
You're very thirsty. So well,
he ain't getting any milk out of them, is he?
Years old. Ugh. With the fact the flood did happen, 400 times the amount of all the liquid water on Earth is locked away in the crust as oxide. No, not oxides. Hydroxide? Yeah, hydroxides. That's it. I was trying to remember. What's that mineral which is OH? And it's like, well, that's a hydroxide.
Ohio.
But anyway, imagine you got 400 times. Now, I don't know how much water you would need in order to completely flood the Earth to the point even Mount Everest was underwater.
A lot.
But 400 times what we...
You'd need a lot, Hobbit.
400 times what we got in the oceans and the rivers and the seas and all that.
How does it work out with area? Because obviously you're adding that onto a sphere, aren't you?
Are you?
Let's assume you
Either
are.
way.
Let's assume you are. So.
If it's either a sphere or a flat plane, it doesn't really matter what the shape. If you're increasing liquid water up to the point where even Mount Everest is filled, it's a lot of water. And then that water has to go somewhere. and in the Bible it just says, well, what does it say again? There's this, and he stayed yet other 7 days, and he sent forth the dove, which returned not any more unto him. Therefore, in the 600th and the first year, the first month, the first day of the month, the waters were lessened upon the earth. And now opening the covering of the ark.
It was also a raven down, weren't he, Hobbit? Because he sent the raven out, and the raven didn't come back.
Sent the raven didn't come back. Sent the dove came back with the olive bough. And then the second time sent the dove out after 7 days, didn't come back. I looked and saw the face of the earth was dried. In the second month, the 7th, 20th day of the month, the earth was dry. Now the thing is, again,
he had to send the bird out to realise that.
Well, let's imagine you can't see any land about, so you send a bird out.
Yeah, but he came to rest on Mount Ararat.
Yeah, well.
So I think it would be pretty obvious that there was no water because he wouldn't have seen it for fucking miles.
I mention this because Göbekli Tepe corroborates the story of the flood. It's not the only place that corroborates the story of the flood. There are cultures from all 4 corners of the world. How do you have corners on a sphere?
All 4 corners of the globe.
That corroborate this. So if I go, let's click on this link. It's a Twitter link. Oh, here we go.
It's funny, isn't it? You know when the globe tards are going. You've got flat earthers coming from all 4 corners of the globe. Yeah, they never say anything about the fact it's 4 corners.
Yeah, but you don't have. Well, I mean, I suppose you have corners as in like cardinal points, but oh, here we go. So there's this chap called Jimmy Corsetti, and he says, "I've received a tip from."
Hey, oh.
So I'll copy the link.
Hey.
I'll copy the link for you. Where should I put this in? I don't think.
I just put it.
I'll put it in.
Put it in the voice.
I'm good.
There's in the voice lobby. There's a chat here, isn't there? So just stick it in that.
Oh, okay, yeah. I'll put that.
And your breakdown of victims by gender and age from last week.
Not nice.
Jimmy Corsetti.
The last thing is,
I just received a tip. Oh, hey.
Anyway, so here we go. There was a pillar discovered at Göbekli Tepe that had a depiction of a boat carved into stone, but was reburied. And then 2 red exclamation points. So, I think that's an emoji. And then there's a thing here. He's a bit of a lowball, but hey, better than nothing. I'm offering a $500 to whoever can provide me with a verified photo of this pillar. Sorry. This is the good thing about reading comprehension. Like the less sleep I get, the dumber I become. I am offering $500 to whoever can provide me with a verified photo of this pillar.
Not any other kind of dollars.
Yeah, the US dollars, the good kind.
Yeah.
This tip mentioned that the archaeologist does not want to come forward out of fear of being restricted from working at Göbekli Tepe in the future. I will guarantee their identity will never be disclosed.
But if they're burying if they're burying it anyway, then he won't be anyway.
If this pillar, well, there may be people that are campaigning to not bury it. If this pillar depicting a boat doesn't exist and was reburied, it would be an explosive discovery. The world has a right to see relics of ancient past. To keep this secret is borderline crime against humanity. And then there is so this is quoting
a crime against.
Yeah, there's some people that they're very reluctant to say things. I don't know why. So this, and then there's a previous Twitter thread says, why would the WEF want to prevent excavation of Göbekli Tepe? Answer: it may corroborate the biblical story of Noah's Ark that was actually true. Sound far-fetched? These 6 points may blow your mind. And is that a picture of a mushroom or a mouse? Or, I don't know. I don't like emojis and things. Genesis 8:20. Upon leaving the ark, Noah built an altar where he sacrificed every clean animal. But yeah, okay. I've just given you the Due Reams one. That's better. The pillars of Göbekli Tepe widely depict various birds and animals, many of which are not known to originate from Turkey. Göbekli Tepe is in Turkey. Well, let's just call it what it is, Asia Minor. And so is Mount Ararat, the alleged location where the ark landed following the flood. Göbekli Tepe dates to 11,600 years. I'm going to round it up to 12,000 years. The same time of the Younger Dryas climate catastrophe, which resulted in 400-foot rise in global sea levels.
What a coincidence!
Oh. I've never covered I've never read about I've heard about the Dryas period, but I've never looked at it. But Göbekli Tepe, that's not the time.
It was pretty wet,
isn't it? Like, yeah. Is it like 12,000 years ago when we had the ice age was starting to recede? Göbekli Tepe appears purposefully buried, perhaps even flood-related. Connect the dots. The powers that be want to cancel Christianity in the Bible. Why? They want to cancel everything that's true, and if for no other reason, to continue propping up the false climate change narrative. Again, ask yourself, why on earth is the WF even associated with the excavation at Göbekli Tepe?
Because so there is in everywhere.
Is that Göbekli Tepe or is that? I think that is actually. There's a picture here. I'll copy the image, and then if I do Control V, does that? Yeah, that does paste it. It's right mouse click doesn't work on Builded for some reason, but and then there's some pictures of various animals, so I'll post that in there. So these are some pillars which are unverified, but these are the alleged pillars that one might see in Göbekli Tepe. Now, a number of things have been done with it, and
what? Number of things have been done, Hobbit.
So a number of things have been done to fuck with the site, and I just, for some reason, I was thinking about the Stonehenge as well, because that's been fucked with recently.
And they're
vandalised.
WEF stooges, aren't they?
Well, you see, now I haven't got the notes in front of me. Probably do if I look in Fortean words. End of history. Pictures of steel beams. Jar of red mercury. French tamarisk. Fortean rock on the beach that Firth was walking on.
Oh, yeah.
Where's all my... Oh, here we go. Yeah, got some posts from mine. Here we are. Here. Right. I posted it in the thing because I am. Here we go. Right. Jumping on. This is from a different chap. I will copy the link so you can read along as well. Post it in here. It's a shame that Fraser died. He'd have been interested in this.
Yeah, he'd have loved this one.
Yeah, but
press F.
I assume it's heroin.
Deep throat.
No, because it's heroin.
Mars bar heroin. Too many.
Yeah. He must have got some fentanyl in his daily ration of heroin.
Yeah.
Jumping on the Göbekli Tepe bandwagon with a crazy theory.
Ready.
Although the T-pillars... Oh, do I have to say that?
No.
I hate that bit. Although the T-pillars are from limestone, which is completely different from... I always like this bit when I start talking. It's like my belly goes, "Hey, did you want to burp? You've been talking for like a a half an hour now. You want to burp now, don't you? But although the Tepe pillars are from limestone, which is completely different from volcanic stones, is it possible they were cast and not carved? Oh yeah, that's a good fun thing as well. Geopolymers. I think the pyramids, the famous one, is like they weren't carved stone; they were cast stone.
Is that cast or compressed?
It is a correct liquid ashes and lime.
You seen the donger on that cat?
Cast. No, I've been reading, so I haven't looked at the pit. I haven't looked at any of the sculptures. I'll have a look at the stone donger in a bit. It's a crazy idea on many levels because creating artificial limestone is a much complicated process, it says here, with half a dozen ingredients. And to create an Inca-style stone, brackets wood ash plus water glass. What is water glass? I don't know, and the guy doesn't say what water glass is. Might be worth having a look. I'll just put that in the search and see if anything
keep
comes
talking,
up.
I'll have a look. I'll see and find out what. Look at that.
Sodium silicate.
Old cat that is.
In fact, it is so complicated, archaeologists do not accept Davidovit's formula for limestone. Though I think a good part of the denial is simply ignorance. Oh, they're just being ignorant. But anyway, casting artificial limestone is a high-level task,
right?
Not for hunter-gatherers, for sure.
Is a compound of sodium and silica that forms a glassy solid that dissolves in water.
Oh, that is interesting.
Sodium.
I didn't know there was.
Is sodium silicated? Isn't it? It
So,
has various applications in industry such as cements, coatings, fire protection, textiles.
What is? I mean, glass is like a mixture of sand for the quartz, and then I forget the other two ingredients involved in glass. That lot of good I would do in an apocalypse. It's like, oh, we can't make glass anymore because Hobbit forgot the recipe.
Yeah. They just make sand
I'm sorry.
really, really hot.
Yeah, but then it's brittle and so is glass. Yeah. You got to add something to the sand to make it see-through and clear. Because otherwise you end up with just because you see the sand, it's not just pure quartz. It's got all this other shit in it, which is impurities and I forget. I'm sure if you look up glass on Wikipedia, but maybe save it and carve it into stone.
Apocalypse on it.
No, it won't. I can't remember it. If it's not written down, I'm not doing it.
Well, we'll all have a big book of science like Ash in the Evil Dead.
If I don't have my Encyclopedia Britannica and my practical laving and 3D printing thing, then we're done for. Right. So, I left the guy from Primitive Technology as well because he seems to know how to make furnaces and forges.
I'm kidnapping Ray Mears come the apocalypse anyway.
Oh yeah. You have Ray Mears. I'll kidnap that bloke in Australia that makes the furnaces.
Yeah.
And we'll probably figure something out as we go along.
We'll probably be all right.
Casting artificial limestone is a high-level task, not for hunter-gatherers for sure. I did this idea that hunter-gatherers are bit bored with subsistence living. What if we drag these massive stones? Are huge. What if we drag them hundreds of miles to a site? Or hey, you know what? Let's invent an advanced geopolymer, which modern chemists and cement people can't recreate. It requires certain knowledge of chemistry, which is
the particular images I'll put up at the minute. They all look like different forms of science. I think they probably were dug up because they look like completely different forms of limestone, don't they? Because the one with the scorpion on, the second one along, looks really, really smooth, fine. The bit with the cat with a big donger on, that looks all right, doesn't it? The other two bits look rough as arseholes, don't they? The ones with a cow on.
Oh, I mean, there is a rough texture.
If you had a
So anyway,
with a
get back
scorpion
to
on it, it's got some weird creatures on it.
yeah, yeah. Well, I will do after this.
Yeah.
So yeah, it takes a fair bit of knowledge to make cast stone. There are certain pillars that only a dumb idiot would have carved out instead of casting. Mainly those where a massive amount of rock needed to be removed in order to get a mini animal protruding. Like in the picture. There's no reference what the picture is.
The picture.
It doesn't prove anything in itself, as morons are among us even today. I'll let us suppose for a moment that this particular T-pillar was cast, or at least the animal was play-dohed on it at a later phase. What do you need for that? Natron. He says again natron, but he hasn't referred to natron in any of the previous. I think that's potassium nitrate. Natron. Don't forget, this is not hashtag natron theory this time. Oh, okay, that's an interesting hashtag. I'll look that up.
Okay.
It is Mr. Davidovic's formula of the pyramid stones from 20 plus years ago. Brackets, his formula also starts with natron, which again I think is potassium nitrate. So we need endless natron sources near Göbekli Tepe and all charts of
Natron is a
artificial
naturally occurring mixture of sodium carbonate decahydrate. So it's Na2CO3 10H2O, a kind of soda ash.
Oh, yeah, because the chemical symbol for sodium is Na. And I remember talking with my German, well, she was German, but chemistry teacher. I said, why is it Na there? What's that? It's like, oh, well, the old name for it was natrium, and in German we still refer to it as natron.
So natron is a kind of salt which is abundant in the Nile Valley. People have been handpicking and collecting it in baskets since ancient times. Ancient Egyptians used natron for at least 10 different purposes: washing clothes, drying food, medical treatment, mouth-washing, ceramics, textile dyeing, insecticide, conserve papyrus,
ceramics,
cosmetic.
There you go. Ceramics.
Yeah.
And most importantly, ceramics, which, what is stone if not a form of ceramic? So
what else
sources
did you
of
use to do with natron, Hobbit? It was also
well, I'm glad you
glass.
There you go. Sand, natron, and then there's a third element. The Carthaginians invented clear glass.
So-called natron glass, which is still the most common format of glass we use today. In fact, this happened way before the Egyptians even dreamed of having an empire. Between 5000 and 4000 BC, they already created small glass amulets and glass beads.
Cool.
So natron glass is nothing more than natron sand and limestone cooked together on 851 degrees Celsius, which means Egyptians were able to melt natron since the beginning of time.
That's not very hot. I thought glass you needed to be like over 1,000 degrees.
Yeah, obviously you don't.
851 is... Yeah. Oh, I went to this glass blowers factory in France, not far from Paris, and the heat coming from those, I just like, I can't... Like these guys, they got like their glass on long poles and they're just like doing it. But I was standing like twice far back as what the glass blowers were, and I just thought, I'm already too hot. How can you do this? And they're just like they're doing it all day long. So anyway, natron. We need natron in order to cast this. There is satellite images. Watching satellite images closely, you will not find the usual suspect, which is a salt lake nearby, or even far away. Then what? The second natural source of natron. I don't like this conversational style of.
Just give us the skinny, mate. Just crack on with
it. Maybe it's like a way Americans are taught. This is how you must present information. If you're having a conversation, it's like it's unnecessary. I don't like it. The second natural source of natron from a long list of possibilities is soil salinization. and the agricultural areas are producing natron as the groundwater pumps up natron to the surface. There is such a source nearby. The agricultural areas around Göbekli Tepe, located in the southeastern Anatolia region of Asia Minor, occupied now, and they call it Turkey, face significant issues with soil salinity. The problem involves the accumulation of salts in the soil, which adversely affects agricultural productivity.
Good for growing poppies.
Region, particularly
that's what happened in Afghanistan. If you watch Bitter Lake, the Adam Curtis documentary, what happened was they dammed up a load of rivers when they were trying to because the king of Afghanistan was quite amenable to the West. He wanted to become like a normal country, so they created dams, lakes, and all things like that. But that salinated the soil, which made it good for growing poppies.
Well, it's more a case of what can you grow when you haven't got enough rain, and poppies don't need much, and it turns out there's a big demand for latex of poppies. The region, particularly the Harran Plain, the Göbekli Tepe,
are always willing to help out people that want to grow poppies, aren't they? They are a big fan of the
poppy.
Oh yeah.
If it's not,
they love Remembrance Day, don't they?
They love Remembrance Day. They also love the Coca-Cola additive, and they like child sex trafficking. The CIA, what is it? Children. I'm trying to think of a drug that starts with I, and then A. I'm going to say is arseholes.
Indica. There we go. Ain't indica a drug?
Cocaine importing agency. That's what it is. Oh, by the way, just to sort of circle back to a previous episode where we talked about what was it now? We talked about the CIA briefly, but in addition to that, I mentioned
I didn't mean what the little buggers get up to.
Well, yeah, I said oh look, here's 42 tons of cocaine in pallets, and the CIA are shipping it off to because Panama don't have the facilities to incinerate it. Yeah. And so in El Salvador recently, they've encountered, I think it was more than 42 tons. It was a significant amount of cocaine. And you know what the El Salvadorans did with it?
What?
They cut open the packets and they set fire to it.
Yeah.
And no CIA was involved. I hope there's not going to be a revolution in El Salvador, because I imagine the CIA guys were looking at that footage and just seething that their cocaine crop has just been burnt up. Not their cocaine crop, of course not. They were seething that it hadn't been imported to America where it could have been safely disposed of.
I don't think
in secure disposal facilities. No.
Or his kids.
So, where we're talking natron, that's it. The region, particularly the Harran Plain near Göbekli Tepe, has a history of irrigation-based farming, which contributes to soil salinization. The main cause is improper water management and poor drainage systems that lead to the rise of saline groundwater to the soil surface, depositing salts as the water evaporates. Where is the Harran Plain exactly? It's the green rectangle below Göbekli Tepe. So if you look at the satellite footage, it's there. If you zoom in that area, you'll see natron on the surface virtually everywhere, this being the main problem for the area. Just have a good look at the third picture. Right there on the ground equals natron. Is it possible that ancient people collected the natron from this area? We don't know, but we do know gypsies collected it in my country 80 years ago from the ground and brought it to the nearby cities to sell. the Göbekli Tepe, it's got a sister town called Kaharan Tepe. It's there on the right. I can't prove the connection between nature and T-pillars. It can be a strange correlation only. You just run into one of the nature-related, totally random correlation, not the end of the world. So, I think it's a nice sort of aside, because I'm going to copy an image here, and then you can.
Though, does it?
Well, the fact is, the common, and it's worth dispelling this. It's worth dispelling this notion that you see, ancient man that was busy slaving away, and they're hunter gatherers because this was nearly 12,000 years ago. They're hunting mammoths, and they got bone spears and stuff, and they just be like, yeah, we'll chip away at this limestone with our bone spears. Although they might have bits of flint, and then copper chisels. That's how they say they did it in Egypt. Yeah, but that's crap for stoneworking, because it's going to chip off. You want even modern steel tools struggle with. So, you see, the thing about stone is it's really abrasive, and it's kind of useful because if you want to sharpen a knife, you use a stone. That makes cutting the stone not very easy. But apparently, they just did it thousands of years ago using copper chisels and slaves. LOL. I think it's worth mentioning that that's a load of bollocks, and these were cast. And when we see modern pillars and stuff, they're not carved; they are cast. It's cast stone. It's a ceramic that has been poured into a mould, and then the mould is taken off. And I think later on in the thread, because I've got my eyes closed at the moment, he goes on to show, here's me casting some stone. Here's me making a Play-Doh-like consistency from the lime.
I thought Sim was supposed to cast the first stone.
So, I think later on in the thread, there's actually a picture where he's got one of those sand molds you get on beach shops of a dinosaur or something. He fills it with cement, and then he presses it against the pillar, and it's there. Archaeologists will say that it was actually a much larger pillar, and I cast it out. Whereas I've just proven that it's cast. I've just got some cement, I've pressed it on the side, and no, I mean, really, you should, because if you look at those pillars, you don't have to be an expert to look at those pillars. I don't see any chisel marks on that. You could be but Hobbit, what if, you clean up the chisel marks with sandpaper, bits of stone. So if you rub stone against stone, those areas get smooth. And yeah, you could do that, or alternatively, you could cast them.
Yeah, you don't see chisel marks on headstones, though, do you?
No, because they clean the stones after they do it.
Yeah.
I'm getting lost in the weeds here, because they lie about Göbekli Tepe. Now, I want to find where it basically they got the words of the people running it. There's this Turkish billionaire who's part of the WEF, and I will summarize it, and then I'm going to try and have a look for it. So the three things that come to mind: one, a visitor centre has been built over the site. It's this walkway, and the pillars go down into it, so you can't really dig around that unless you plan to remove that.
Did you want to read
UNESCO's
thoughts on Göbekli Tepe?
No. And then you've got a road which has been built on top of it. So asphalt's been carved here, heavy machinery, which I don't have to be an archaeologist to say it's probably not a good idea to have heavy earth-moving equipment on top of this, monumental 12,000-year-old underground city with many hollow areas in it. That's probably not a good idea. If you want to preserve this 12,000-year-old site, you probably shouldn't be building roads on top of it. Then, in addition to that, they've built some orchards to the south. So that wasn't there 10 years ago. It is now. So you're going to have to, have farmers saying, but this is my livelihood. If you take this away, my family would be destitute. It's like, sorry, mate. Who said you could, plant, an orchard here? So that's a good idea. And then the WF spokespeople say, we are not going to excavate it. We want it preserved for future generations. I'm like, it's fucking bollocks, mate. That's a fucking lie.
Yeah, you can see where they've built the building. I've just put the picture up.
Yeah.
From UNESCO's site.
All right. Okay. What have we got? Oh, okay. Here's an interesting one. And your audience might not be ready for this, right? But one of the carvings is, in fact, Big Bird from Sesame Street.
It looks like a dodo to me.
That one there? Well, yeah. It looks like Snoopy the dog.
Did you know Solomon had stone-eating bugs, according to Living the Dream? He's trying to play trumpet in the background. That is me.
Why doesn't China want us to know they have ancient pyramids across the country? Yeah, that's a good question for another show.
Is the chemical symbol for Mark Collett NF or BMP, Hobbit?
I think he.
I think
nitrogen
it's
fluoride. See, because I have seen NAF, which is sodium fluoride, but you could have nitrogen.
As fuck, is it? I bet.
You could have nitrogen fluoride because nitrogen, it's semi-noble, but in the right conditions, it will form bonds with other atoms, and fluorine being so very electronegative, it will form it. I'm sure it will. Yeah, probably some hideously corrosive acid formed from it. There's some speculation which doesn't seem really. Okay. I'll read it out. Maybe the image will explain it better than me reading it out. But somebody posted this image saying, Genesis chapter 10, the Tablets of Nations or Table of Nations. This is the account of Shem, Ham, and Japheth, Noah's sons. So Ham's going into Africa, Shem into Arabia, Asia, and Japheth into Europe. And there are some tablets, and what he's trying to do is say that these tablets correspond to various features of like North Africa, Caucasus. You know that bit of land between the Black Sea and the Caspian, that the Caucasus, and then I don't really see it. I'm not that good at seeing things.
Yeah.
Story of Noah's Ark is likely true. Yeah, they want to bury the truth. Where was the thing? Because it might have been in another Twitter thread where the guy's talking about how what the WF has got to do about it, or why the WF controls it. I don't like this this McKelly Fotty guy. Is this it? Stone ash recipe? Oh, that's when I did the hashtag Natron theory. Yeah. I'm just closing links until I see something relevant. So if I go to the Fortean Words chat, by the way, t.me/Fortean Words, if you want to sort of discuss anything Fortean, suggestions for the show,
Yeah.
um,
If you want to
always
come on.
appreciate it. Yeah. What is that? It. So we're
Rumble's working now, lads. If anybody wants to watch on, anyone wants to watch on Rumble, Rumble's working again.
I'm a rebel. So I don't know. That's annoying.
Or you can donate me some more lemons on D Live if you want.
There was somewhere in this. It's just. God, I'm struggling with words today.
Yeah. Did you want to knock off early tonight then?
Wouldn't mind. But
yeah, I'm knackered. Should we go till 8:30?
Yeah, that will do. I think we'll just sort of.
Yeah.
What's this link? Is that related to it? No, that's not the one that's related to it. I'd love to be able to say, look, here's the link I read about the WF and what they're saying, who owns it and why they own it. I think I can summarise it as, look, this site has got important information about history, which corroborates with the Bible and other historical accounts. It's from an era of the Younger Dryas, and those that call the place don't want you to know, don't want anybody to know, literally burying it under roads and orchards and other bullshit that shouldn't be there. I got a feeling, because I went to the Hypogeum in Malta, and the way it's run, the way you can't take photographs in there, I mean, fuck me. There's not any paintings in there. It's just carvings. So I can understand, like, no flash photography around this priceless oil painting because the bright lights will make the colours fade. Yeah, okay, fair enough. But it's literally just like the one thing they do say is like, oh well, look, due to humidity levels, we have to control how many visitors come. Right, fair enough. And also, we have motion controlled lights in there, so when you're not there, it goes dark because otherwise we get plants growing there. It's like, okay, fair enough. I've been in caverns where I've seen plants growing because of literally there's plants that grow in rocks, and the only moisture they get is people's breath, and the only light they get is LED lights, and it's like, and yet these plants are growing. It's incredible. But why can't I take photographs in the Hypogeum? There's something about like UNESCO with all these. Oh fuck you! It remains a mystery. Hunter gatherers, stone and copper chisel slaves. LOL. It was a burial tomb. It's a sundial. You're not allowed to know. Oh, that's the other one that pisses me off. I don't know if it's changed, but there's this megalithic building not far from Dublin in Ireland, and I can't remember the name of it. So Newgrange, that's what it's called. It's called Newgrange. And Newgrange is designed that during the winter solstice, when the light comes in from the sun, it lights up a specific area of the site in a very special way, and that's the. I think it's that and summer solstice are the 2 days of the year where it's closed. So, like the 2 days of the year where you actually want to be into this building so you can observe the pillar of light, you can't go and see it. Well, to a lesser extent, I've seen this myself. Now, there's a stone circle called the Rollrate Stones, and it's got a stone circle. It has a dolmen to the south east called the Whispering Knights, and then bisected by a road, because we got to have fucking roads through all of our megalithic sites. Apparently, there's they call it the Kingstone, and also further south in a village called Enstone, there's the Horstone, which people say is a dolmen related to the stones, but it's literally like, I don't know, 10 miles south, and yet somehow they're saying no, that's part of it. Let me just check on Google Maps right now what the distance is between the two of them. Of course, it'll say by road. So if I go,
So Solomon's stone-eating bugs were called Solomon Shamir. Funny-looking little buggers in the Talmud, apparently. So you'd have to take their word for it.
Enstone. Oh, what if I do the petrol station? Because it's near Texaco petrol station, Enstone. Meadow Lane, Nottingham. I just told you it's an Enstone, you dickhead.
Why don't you try what 3 words? That's a lot better.
Fuck me. Yeah, I really got to stop using Google Maps because it's a fucking. Yeah, but it doesn't have the thing of. I just want it to draw like a map. A map.
Yeah,
I want it
3
to.
words is pretty much the same as that. Only it's got the grid over the top, isn't it?
Right, there's the Horstone. Add stop. Get rid of that stopping Nottingham. So the distance between, actually, you know what? That is pretty much a straight line. If you go on the, was that what is that road? Either way, between the Rolric Stones and the Horstone, it is a distance of 7.5 miles. And they're saying, yep, that dolmen is part of the Rolric Stones. So I was like, okay, I'll take your word for it. That's what I've been told. Now, what I mean to say about that is the Rolric Stones, fortunately, it's not owned by the National Trust and it's not UNESCO. So you can actually go to it during the summer solstice. And if you go there at dawn tomorrow...
Is that because they've decommissioned it by dragging that rock off?
Yeah, but the rock was dragged back.
Okay. No, the one that's 7 miles away.
I've no idea, but no, that wouldn't have been dragged 7.5 miles away. There was some like farmers apparently that they tried to drag the stones down to cross a stream. Yeah. But then like loads of horses and men died trying to do it, so they dragged it back. And funny enough, it was actually easier to pull it uphill than it was downhill.
Yeah.
So if you go to the stone circle at dawn, or you want to be there before dawn, really, tomorrow, and you look at the most prominent stone in that circle, you will see various things in there. There used to be a really good bench for looking at that. Yeah, in fact, there's a wooden bench there which is tossed towards the west near the hedge bordering a field. And if you sort of sit there and you look at that stone, you will see, well, I saw various faces in it, both side on and full on. And I saw what looked like a teddy bear. I saw owls. I saw a dragon. I saw numerous dragons in it. And it was magical. And the thing is, I didn't think it would be so animated, but it changes as the sun comes up and plays on it, and it's really quite spectacular. Because I just thought, oh, it's just an old stone. Yeah, until the sun starts. Oh, your doorbell's jingling today.
Yeah, it's bin day. So Mrs. is throwing all the rubbish out.
Oh, okay. So yeah, it's quite magical, and you do, being that Rolric Stones is like what it is. You can get to it, and it's nice. Other places, not so much. Not really. Not quite. Sad, really, but there you have it. So that's it. Göbekli Tepe, why are you being buried? We'll probably touch upon this story. Well, that's the thing with all of our episodes, isn't it? I mean, there's always something that comes up that relates to an older episode. So I just wanted to say that this is what I've been looking at this week. I don't like the WF very much.
Or UNESCO.
Not just because, or UNESCO, but especially the former, because they seem to be really keen on getting people out of their cars. And without a car, I wouldn't be able to see things like the Rolling Stones or Stonehenge. And again, the argument could be said, well, if it wasn't for cars, then the two people that vandalised Stonehenge today wouldn't have been able to get there.
Yeah.
Maybe they should be buried and then, like, preserved for future generations to look at. The protesters. I'm saying the protesters should be buried underground.
Oh, did you know there's a proposed railway line at the site at Göbekli Tepe?
Oh, good, yeah. Hopefully it'll have, like... And then they'll have a disaster like they did in America at the beginning of the year with all those horrible chemicals from the derailment.
I'm just having a look at the UNESCO report on it.
Yeah. Are they going to have, like, a nuclear nearby?
Why not?
A recycling facility, maybe a landfill, maybe... Look, this Göbekli Tepe, it's
railway is going to be 2.5 kilometres south of the property. We'll shift to 4.5 kilometres south of the boundary of the management area and will run parallel to a road highway. Project documentation will be sent to the World Heritage Centre and impact assessments may be undertaken if judged necessary. We've got an inactive quarry 2.5 kilometres to the west of the site.
Yeah, because, you might start quarrying and go, oh, look, here's the furthest extent of Göbekli Tepe and artefacts.
Yeah.
Don't want the quarry workers seeing that. Because that's the other thing as well. Like, we don't know how big Göbekli Tepe is. They did ground-penetrating radar scans of it. It's vast, but we don't know how vast it is because the radar can only penetrate so far. So there's more, but which we can't see, which isn't being excavated. And that was the other thing as well. Like, I heard about Göbekli Tepe, and then I was like, well, that's all very interesting, but I'll come back to it when they excavate more of it. Well, I'm glad that I've been reading about this stuff because the fact is they're not going to excavate more of it. So I guess, like, oh yeah, there was this really cool site called Göbekli Tepe, older than Stonehenge, more significant than the pyramids, but you'll never get to know.
There were some earthquakes in February 2023, and they say that nothing happened to the Göbekli Tepe.
Nothing happened.
Yeah.
Go away now.
Mm.
Never explore or explain this ever again. Yeah. Oh, and also F in the chat because Fraser died, and we will all mourn his loss here.
Dead again.
Yeah. He came back, but then he died again. He's not Jesus. He's not.
There's a new report. There's a new report coming out the 1st of December 2024.
Is there?
Yes.
Okay.
So right.
Interesting.
You don't.
I was done. I was done a half hour ago. I was done 1.5.
Right, we're all done. We're knackered. I've got hay fever. He's got hay fever. We're dying. Night all. Sorry, it's a bit of a short show.
And Göbekli Tepe is dead. Go away. It's not interesting.
Like Fraser.